This is a quick introduction to your field experience on live text, and I'd like to begin with just simply reminding you to go to the blog website if you have any questions. Again, that's blog.spalding.edu/education, and if you scroll down along the right hand side, you will find that there are links here for field experience. And this is where you can find the information on how to submit those 3 items that are required before you can even get your field experience placement. So make sure that you have completed these 3 items. Again, there's additional information regarding those. I also want to point out that if you scroll down under field experience, you do have a link to the law that has recently been revised. Beginning in September 1, 2013, you are required to complete 200 clock hours. Again, this is Kentucky state law. This is not a Spalding requirement. We don't simply randomly add hours to courses to have you go out to the schools. It is by state law that says that you must have these. And they have identified 7 categories of the type of experience that you must have. The first one is where you'll actually be working with students. That's where the second level of field experience comes in, where we're going to ask you to maybe teach a short lesson, work with small groups of students, or something along those lines. But that's going to be the first one, engaging with a diverse population of students, and you're going to actually be working with students. The second category is just simply observation. So for your first level of field experience courses, and that would be your lifespan, your intro to special ed, and the technology course, those are level 1 courses. And in those courses, we just ask you to observe. And so that's B, observation. Now, some of the other activities that you will be experiencing throughout your different courses will be tutoring. Now, tutoring would be an after-school type activity where you're working one-on-one or maybe in small groups with students. Interacting with families, that could be a open house or some type of special event that families participate in. At some point in one of your courses, you will be asked to attend a school-based council meeting or a school board council meeting. You will be asked to participate in school-based professional learning communities, and that would be where you're participating in professional development that goes with teachers. And the last category would be working with teachers. So if you are collaborating, you're doing cooperative teaching or co-teaching, where you get this, you want to sit down with the teacher, spend some time planning and talking with them and saying, so what lesson should I be teaching and how do you want me to teach this, and those things. That's where you're working and assisting the teacher directly themselves. There are other categories that may fall under assisting the teacher as well. So those are our 7 categories, and you should know what those 7 categories are because those all come under the state law, and you will be required to be identifying which type of field experience you are getting. And again, this is all explained on our blog under field experience. Also under field experience, there's a link for live text field experience module, the FEM, which I'm about to explain to you. This is the page that explains what the different aspects are. Again, please note that as far as the College of Education is concerned, you are always referred to as a teacher candidate. You're not referred to as, in this case, we put Spalding students so that you know who you are, but in when we are dealing with the schools, you are always referred to as a teacher candidate. And please note that, so from our perspective, you are a teacher, you are a pre-service teacher, but you are a teacher, and so we do expect you to act accordingly. Okay. Now, on this page, it does have a handout that you can print out. Again, it gives you the example of the field experience, explains where you get the different information and what it means. It does also include those 7 categories that I just explained that the law lists, A through G. And then on the back, or on page 2, it has a blank for you to handwrite or just keep a record of your hours. This is not what you will be turning in. All the hours will be added or maintained in live text on the computer. This is simply to it's like a cheat sheet that you can write these things down so that when you go to the computer to enter them, you have a record of what you're going to be entering. Okay. For some of you, you might have a smartphone and you just enter it directly right when you're at the school while you're doing your observation, and that's fine, as everything is eventually going to end up in live text. So speaking of live text, let's go and look at what it's going to look like when you log into live text. You can see when you log into live text, this is your dashboard. You have your courses and your assignments that are due, but you have a new tab right here. It's the first tab on the left, and it's called Field Experience. And when you click on that, you'll have information for your active placements. Now, you will have a placement for every course you are taking that requires field experience hours. Now, you'll be placed in the same school with the same teacher for all of your hours, but we need to track that you are completing the hours for every single course. So that's why you'll see a placement. You may see multiple placements. Each placement represents a course and how many hours are required for that course. So I'm going to click on View Placement here, and you can see that I have my placement right here, and there's 3 columns. The first column is going to be my details. First off, it's going to have my contact information for, it's going to have my supervisor, and the supervisor is your course instructor. It'll have your mentor, and the mentor is the classroom teacher that you will be working with or observing. Now, please note that you can email them at any time. Now, the first time you go in and you see your placement, you're going to want to email your mentor, and you're going to want to introduce yourself to them and thank them for allowing you to come into their classroom. Please keep in mind that this is voluntary for them. They're doing you a favor. Please treat them with the respect that is due them. After introducing yourself, ask them when would be a good time to meet or for you to come in, okay? But it is up to you to make that first contact. So once you get your placement, you're going to go under your placement details and email your mentor and set up that first appointment. Okay. Now, under the information for your site, it's going to give the address of the school where you're going. Now, I don't know why it doesn't give the name of the school. It just gives the address. So if you want to know the name of your school, you're going to click on View Demographics, and under the demographics, it'll have the name of the school, it'll have the school district, and it'll have the information of how many students are in that school, what their ethnic distribution is for that school, and so it'll have the breakdown for how many boys and how many girls, things like that. So you'll have that information. You can see exactly how the makeup of the school you'll be going to. Now, in the middle column is going to be your assessments. You don't have to worry about assessments for field experience alone. Assessments, there's only one assessment. It's actually completed by your mentor, so you only have one thing listed here, and there's nothing you can do to fill it out. You won't have a little begin assessment or anything because you don't fill that out, the mentor does. Now, below there's a section for attachments. Now, attachments are if you're requested to share something. Say the teacher has asked for you to create a handout and they would like you to share that with them, you can actually put that here as an attachment, or they may ask you to share a lesson plan or something like that. So anything that you want to share with your mentor, this is a good place to go ahead and share that right here as an attachment. Now the important thing is this third column, because the third column is where you will maintain your hours. Okay, so this is our time log, and you will be entering all the hours that you are going to be doing for this particular class. And we're going to simply click on add hours. You'll put the date that you're observing. You'll put in how many hours that you've gone to observe. You'll put class information, and the class information is very simple. Simply put the grade that you are observing and the subject that you are observing. Okay, and it helps to spell it. It's just nice to spell it correctly. And then you're going to put your activity. And the activity is simply which of those 7 categories that are either on the front of the handout that you may have printed out or on our blog website that are defined by the state law, which of those are you were you doing? Were you engaging with students? Were you working with the teacher? Or were you simply observing? And observing is B. B for observing. So I'm going to say all I was doing was observing, so I'll say B, and I'm going to save. And you can see that I have my activity, I have my hours coming down here, and one thing that eventually, right now, notice the hours aren't showing, and that's simply because your mentor teacher will go in, they have an account, they'll log in themselves, and they will go in and they will approve the hours. And as soon as your mentor teacher approves and says, yes, they were here, you'll see that your hours will start accumulating, and you'll have your total number of hours. But again, I want to emphasize that the first time you come in and you look at your placement and you look at your mentor, please make sure that you contact them. Please note that again, that you are coming into the school as a pre-service, or as we say, that you are a teacher that is going into that school. And so when you say that you are going to be there on a certain day at a certain time, please make sure that you are. If you are not going to be there, if you can't make it, something came up, call them and let them know. When you arrive in the school, make sure that you go to the office first. You always go to the office first and sign in. Again, that's policy in every single school, that you always go directly to the office and you sign in and let them know that you're there. Make sure that you, again, treat that classroom teacher with the respect due them. They are doing you a favor. They are a professional, having an outside person come into their classroom. So act professional, again, but we always let people know that when you go into a classroom, you are the professional of a teacher going into that classroom. And this classroom teacher, they can become your best friend in the sense that they can help you with becoming a teacher. They can write you letters of recommendation. But if you go in disrespectfully, if you go in unprofessionally, if you go in dressed inappropriately, they have every right to ask you to leave the school. If that ever were to happen, you have just shot yourself in the foot, because now we're going to have trouble placing you in other schools as well, because schools talk to schools, and when there is somebody that has done something that is totally inappropriate, everybody else finds out about it. And so it's very important when you go into a school, make sure that you dress appropriately, make sure you act appropriately, and that you treat the teachers as the professionals that they are.